It's your rate.
Better than nothing, I guess.
So, until they come out with something that measures your taste level, memory.
Today is
I don't even know what that would be.
October 5th, 2021.
They can do that for me, so.
Planning and Zoning Committee called to order at 9:43 a.m. Would you call the roll, please, Amanda?
Zumwalt,
Present.
Curtis.
Yeah.
Awful, here, Barr.
Yes. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Has everyone been able to audit the claims?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have.
Is there a motion to approve the claims as submitted?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Are there any questions? Any discussion? Amanda, would you call the roll, please?
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Barr.
Yes. Are there any public comments? Reports from the departments. Mrs. Suver.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
So, still working on the coding for the ballot for the school districts that are going to be affected by the referendum questions at the next election. That's taking a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to, but we want to make sure it's right. I also just talked to Jill during health regarding the need to add a little bit more money to my automation expense from the recorder automation line to my budget for next year. I'm working on a microfilm project. We haven't microfilmed our recording documents since 2003. Well, 2002 is the last year we had done them, and when I was working on a digitizing of the records proposal and talking with the state archives, they really recommend that we have microfilm of our documents. So my goal is between the end of this year and next year to have all of the documents microfilmed that we need to have microfilmed. We do have an issue right now with vinegar syndrome of our microfilm, but they now use polyester microfilm, and that stuff is supposed to be good for like 150 years, where this other stuff, the developer that they used, they found that caused the vinegar syndrome and created an issue. So anyway, to get all of those documents microfilmed, I needed to add an additional $15,000 to my recorder's automation expense, which Jill assured me was okay. And anyway, that's what we've been working on in the office.
Well, I imagine this proposal that the mayor from Woodland presented us with, is that moving along, or have you?
Well, he's got to work on that. Like, I can't tell him what he needs to do
Okay.
because that's considered legal advice.
Right,
We can point him in the direction of the statute,
okay,
and his attorney can advise what they need to do to move forward. Just like the attorney from the city of Watseka is looking into the matter,
right,
because it appears that home rule units can just pass an ordinance and do what they want, where those that are not home rule, like the Village of Woodland and Belmont Township, they would have to get 25% of the voters in that district to sign a petition to put a referendum on the ballot and then have the referendum on the ballot.
because I see last Tuesday night, he appeared before the Watseka City Council.
Right. So they're, as far as I know, they're moving forward, but I don't know because that's going to be between the village boards and their attorneys.
Okay, thank you very much. And our county treasurer, Mr. Albert. Too wet to be in the field?
I'd like to be, but got a little too much rain at the moment, so. We sent out certified, so we are, collecting a lot of tax money right now. Our tax sale will be October 25th here in the boardroom. So that's all we're doing right now is, like I said, people are finally realizing that they didn't realize they didn't pay their taxes and they're rushing in now, so.
And Mr. Yergler.
On the assessment side, we applied equalization yesterday, so we're gonna abstract and balance that, and then get ready to publish assessment change notices, and get the board review in session. So we're a little bit ahead of last year, so that's good. And other than that, that's what we're working on.
Okay, planning and zoning office report.
Got the report in front of you. Good month for receipts. Got a couple of pretty good large projects to go that we're going forward. You have noticed or not noticed or don't care. Out here on the corner, Walmart and Ford, Nichols Fab Shop is building a new car shop, fab shop there. They're buying it from Mike Piner where that Quonset is, on the south side of the railroad and east of Route 1. So that's going to be quite the facility, sounds like, when it's done. Incabrasso is continuing to expand. They're adding on to their office. So that's good news on the assessment side. And other than that, you got your inspection claims, mileage, and inspections. Obviously, Brian Poole doesn't have anything on his because he's been in the field, so he's doing a lot of his stuff at night, off hours. So he was busy, so he didn't turn in his claim for this month. So I guess I would assume next month he'll have 2 months worth of mileage and per diems. So, and the only other thing I have is present today is Robert and Holly Rice. They've requested a conditional use to sell retail beef out of the old schoolhouse on the south edge of Schwanee Golf Course in Sheldon Township. Or is it Belmont? That's Sheldon. And they're here today. They went in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals last week, and they were recommendation for approval from them. And so they're here to make their presentation to you as zoning committee to move on to the full county board. So I'll turn the floor over to them.
Just stand up here.
Yep.
Good. Go ahead. Holly and I purchased property at 2601 1700 North Road, June 2020. It was a one-room schoolhouse built in 1900. We are applying for a conditional use permit to make a retail store at this location. Why we're doing this, to sell our farm-raised beef from the farm. The beef will be processed, packaged, and frozen at Barry's Processing in Watseka. In getting to this point, we have been working with Iroquois County Health Department and have received a letter saying we have met their standards. We are waiting to finish the kitchen sink and some mop sink faucets that haven't come in before we can get a plumbing inspection. Andy Clark has been doing all the plumbing, bath, sink, toilet, mop sink, on-demand H2O heater to ADA code. Also, Merle Benoit installed a basic septic field and tank in the fall of 2020, refinished the outside, which is that last fixture. And through the winter to this summer have refinished inside the building with old barnwood and timbers along with pine tar siding throughout. Yesterday, well, in the zoning meeting last week, we talked about turnaround and being able to have parking and the access and We put a 20 by 20 turnaround to make it so people can turn around before getting back on the busy road east and west. Thank you for your time, Robert Holly.
Are there any questions?
Robert and Holly, I'd like to have a moment to talk to you after this meeting, because I think I might have some information that would help your endeavor. And I need to get your information going too.
This is strictly a conditional use on the A1 zoning, so no zoning change at all. It's just a conditional use to sell retail out of the A1 zoning. So,
While they're checking last things out, Bob, I'd like to return back to the planning and zoning office report that's in Cabrosa, that $600,000. Is that part of the $20 million makeover and
as far as I know, no.
beg pardon?
As far as my understanding is, it's not.
So this is
Above and beyond.
this is above and beyond the 20 million that we gave them the tax abatement.
Yep. I'll have to go back and look at their proposal, but I'm pretty sure it's not part of that.
Okay,
Because they did all that work like 2 years ago.
okay, so this goes on the tax rolls
Should.
for the full amount then. Okay. Are there any questions on these people?
Motion to approve and send on to the county board the application from Robert Holly Rice.
Second.
No discussion? Would you please call the roll then, Amanda?
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Curtis, Awful,
Yes.
Bard,
Yes. This will come up at the full county board meeting next week, so I
Next
would,
Tuesday in this room at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so you have to make another appearance.
One more.
Then you get to sit through a lot of talking and discussion.
That's okay.
The discussion and action on rezoning and variance was,
They did not appear for ZBA, so that is on
right,
hold.
that's on hold until they reapply, is that?
I've not heard from them one way or the other.
He's
so I
not
don't
heard
know.
from them, so it's just on hold and it may or may not come up before us here in the future.
Next month, you'll have 3 kennels to process.
Yeah. And discussion on building permit enforcement fines and penalties, that's tabled until next month. Discussion and action on publication of rural homesteads. Mrs. Crawford?
Yeah, I actually talked to you yesterday and Bob, and after reviewing it, I don't think that there's any county out there that we were aware of, but I'm going to do some more research to find out what counties have pursued this type of marketing of homesteads. I believe that we need to really, because there's so much variance in each location. So we have to be very smart when we want to present this and how to present it. It shouldn't be like a super intricate, but it's really just to let people know. And then once we get that, I want to make sure it's right, not go above and pour too much out there, but make it well known. So, and I'm actually going to be talking to a couple different people today to talk about that when it comes to a vast area of economics. So I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a party that a person I know in Sheldon, and they were telling me that they had a cousin that had moved to Kentland and put their house on the market for $308,000. And so your first thought is $308,000. They're gonna take a hit on that. Well, I found out a week ago, this last weekend, they sold it for what they asked for, $308,000. And there was a couple that came down from Chicago. I went to the two realtors here in town, Smith Realty and Rosenboom, McCauley, or whatever it is, and I talked to the realtors, and they both said the same thing. The sales have been phenomenal. There's people coming down from Chicago, from out west, and for different reasons. John, you might as well have one of these. One of the things that they're told is that the people coming from out different areas, especially Chicago, are kind of cringing at what the taxes are they have to pay, but it is offset by what they feel is what the bang they're getting for their buck insofar as the houses are concerned and the property. So there are people moving in, and if you look at this, why, yes, there are people moving out, but also there are people staying. They're moving from one place to the other. Maybe some of them are going into assisted living, who knows? But I think it was Smith that said that they have 29 properties for sale in the Watseka area. Now, when they say the Watseka area, they mean the Watseka School District area. And of those 29, 12 are under contract to be sold. So that leaves 17, whereas 2-3 years ago, there might be 50, 60, 65 properties listed for sale. And like I said, they both made the comment that sales are just great. And in fact, Sandy told me that that's just phenomenal, the amount of people that they're calling down here and what she's showing. And Smith said the same thing. They're always showing some property. Part of the time it sells, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just throwing that out there because it does indicate that property is selling around here, and we do have people coming in from out of the area, and we still have a ways to go. But this paper right here is what they have sold from the office this year at Rosenboom's.
Rosenboom?
And I didn't get anything from Smith. They gave me kind of a flow sheet, and they explained it to me, and I think you have to be a realtor to understand it. So I didn't feel like bringing it in front of the committee because I wouldn't know what I'd be talking about, which is part of it.
Roger, I will add that I did find out that the SUDS plan for Iroquois County, which is a comprehensive economic development strategic plan, was last updated in 2013.
Yeah.
I did hear that Kankakee is trying to update theirs, and with that comes, the new statistics with the census. Okay,
Yeah.
and that is all factoring in.
Right.
So when we do that, you know, Ida wants to update their website and put all that information in also for the villages. And, I think not the initiative, but the incentive for the county would be good to put on the county's website once we determine what the wording, the exact wording is, and then also notify, you know, again, like I said previously,
Right.
the bicentennial and centennial farms, just to kind of get the word out. Not make it a shove it in your face kind of thing, but just let people know it's an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we want to get it out
As soon as possible.
much as we can, and
Right.
it seems pretty obvious that people are finding us that want to move down here, because all you have to do is look where buyers moved from, and it comes from all over Wisconsin, Oak Lawn, Mahomet. So,
I did also see that in Chicago, they're also doing what's called a seed map. And it's like a virtual it's actually coming out this week where they're doing planning. So this is happening, I think, throughout the state, that they're taking another look with what's coming out with the census and updating everything to make it more real for all of the businesses that are wanting to come, or even residents wanting to come here, to make it very open on what's here and what's available, which is never an easy task.
resolution approving the sale of property acquired through the delinquent tax program.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Sue.
everyone has the committee members, has the monthly resolution list that's provided by the trustee. There's 3 parcels, one in Beaverville Township, one in Woodland, one in Sheldon. The one in Beaverville Township and the one in Sheldon were sold at the base price of $807. And then the one in Woodland they bid an extra $20. So total coming to the county, $1,091 for the 3 properties. And we just need a motion to approve the resolutions so deeds can be signed and transferred back into these people's names. I guess one of them will probably be a tax exempt parcel. And you can be, they normally are. But the other 2 will be going back on the tax.
Okay.
Is there any idea how big these this parcel, Francis Kankakee lot?
It's just a lot in Willow Slough or Willow Estates.
Inventory.
And all of those lots vary, but it's just a single lot, I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
I look them up and I can't remember. I don't have the address, I just have the parcel number.
One of the ones that,
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
that's one of the lots they want to donate for the Fish and Wildlife.
Yes, right,
Oh, yeah.
that's their full intent, yes.
You don't have to approve it if you don't want to.
Do we have to approve the whole thing, or can we exclude one parcel?
Could we do that? You can exclude whatever you want.
See what happens. I'll make the motion to approve the parcel sale to Scott Bowman and Lorena Acevedo, but not the Friends of the Kankakee.
Second.
Any discussion? Amanda, call the roll, please.
Sumall,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
I may bring him out of the woodwork.
There you go, Brian. Mrs. Suber? And Mr. Yergler.
If you won't come to see us, you
Yeah,
come to the
no,
full
I'm
board
not the
meeting.
one that's approving these, so I just have to present them.
Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
Yeah, Roger, I have new business.
Okay,
Um,
Mr. Yergler?
Yep. From actions taken by the full board last month, they decided to pay another department head extra money to do a job that's not under their current job description. Decision I agree with. So bringing me to my situation, about 7 years ago, about this time, I was approached by the county board chairman, the vice chairman, and the finance chairperson. And they basically told me, Bob, you're getting zoning whether you like it or not. And we're gonna give you $3,000. Basically, that was to make up for my loss of pay for what I was frozen at because of the budget crunch we went in the early 2000s. So they said, you don't really have much decision about it, so this is gonna happen. Okay, I'll do the job, best that I can. Now that this has come up, it's been eating at me for several years, and I've also discussed this with you as far as going forward, what the county wants to do with that department based on when my retirement comes up. And I've all discussed it with different people. So basically, I'm requesting that the board actually make a final decision how they want to handle my department going forward. There's really 4 scenarios out there that I think are viable or not viable. One is don't do anything, leave it the way it is. You could have that authority to do that, and that's a decision the full board can make. The second one is compensate me for taking over a complete department accordingly, because over the last 7 years, the county has saved approximately over $500,000 in salary and benefits, and also continue to get income derived from the efforts of the zoning department. I don't think that's and to do that, I would request at this point about an increase of $20,000. I don't think that's viable. It's not going to happen, but it's out there. Thirdly, separate it back out again. Totally remove it from assessment and zoning assessment and start it up again as its own department. I don't think that's viable either. You're starting up from scratch again, basically, and I don't. The fourth and the best alternative that I think is out there is leave zoning under the assessment umbrella, which is statutorily, you can do that, and hire somebody under as another non-union chief deputy or zoning administrator under the umbrella of the assessment office to do zoning, put their full heart and soul into zoning like it should be. If the county wants to keep zoning up, I think it's viable to have someone in there that wants to go to school to learn, land management, planning, flood management, how to handle, floodplain issues, which we have a lot of in the county. And then also down the road, then we also have the support staff already there in my office to handle that. All the files are there. It's an easy transition. And then also, when I do retire, that I think it's not impossible to hire somebody to do my job with the zoning attached to it, but it's a lot more difficult. But if it has its own person underneath the umbrella, I think it would be much simpler to hire somebody to take over the assessment side with the zoning part, with the zoning administrator already in place. I'm just throwing that out there. I'd like the board to consider it, the committee. I know it's a money thing, so I was actually going to take this to finance on Thursday also. Obviously, I don't expect nothing to be done soon, like right away, but I do want a decision to be made sooner rather than later going forward, because I think the direction needs to be, I've harped on this for a couple of years that my retirement's coming, and I think it'd behoove the county to at least try to separate them a little bit, to hire somebody that's got an interest in land management and zoning, and then also, I'm a valuation guy, I have been for 40 years. That's my job, that's what I like to do. I don't like zoning at all. I don't put my heart or soul into it. I haven't gone to school for it. I don't want to take the continuing ed to learn about it. And eventually I'm going to make a mistake that's going to be detrimental to me and to the county, and I don't want that to happen. Hire somebody that's willing to learn from the younger person. And that's basically the solution I think is best for the county and for going forward on the assessment side. If and when I do retire, then it could be easily filled. I'm working on trying to get somebody to go to school, to take it, if that comes about. But zoning is the elephant in the room. So I wanted to let you know about that. It's been eating at me for a couple of years, and then obviously what happened last month at the full board meeting said, you know, I took over a whole department basically for $3,000, and I haven't, you know, and I finally needed to say something, and I want you to know how I feel. But like I said, you guys have the authority to do what you want, discuss it among yourselves, obviously. And like I said, I'm gonna come to finance because it's a money thing, and I think this is the fourth solution I think is the best going forward. You may disagree with that, and that's fine, but from looking at it from my perspective, keep it where it's at, support staff is there, hire somebody that wants to do it and do it well. And I think the county will be better off in the long run for paying, you know, increasing, you know, adding an employee to do that and keep the assessment. So that's my thought. It's new business. Like I said, there's no action, obviously, and I wanted you to know how I felt. And my appointment is up in May. Whether you appoint me again or not, that's up to John and you guys. And as far as what my time frame is after that, don't know. Can't tell you. But hiring somebody to take over assessment and zoning together is much more difficult than having the zoning person in place and then someone to come in and take over the whole department as the assessment officer. Just a thought. I know you don't want to pay me another $20,000 a year, and I'm not really asking for that. I don't think that's a viable solution. It doesn't solve our problem going forward. Separating it back out is not, to me, is not viable either. It's in there. It's statutorily can be with assessment. Just leave it there and hire somebody that wants to do it. And eventually that person can actually take over, get trained on building code, and get trained and do the inspections themselves. And then we don't have to pay the independent contractors and keep trying to find retired plumbers and retired electricians and retired contractors that do the inspections as an independent contractor. You could keep it all in-house, which might be something you want to consider too. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I will say, Ford County had a heck of a time with they had to find a new assessor, and there was a gal they hired, and she royally screwed up. It is a huge mess down there in Ford County. Maybe they've got it resolved now, but it can go bad. It can go really bad. You get people who don't know what they're doing.
You know, I brought up Knox County in the past, that I thought they had separated it totally out. They had not. I checked into it. They hired somebody like that Fort scenario I gave you. They hired somebody to do the planning and zoning and kept it under the umbrella of the assessment office with the supervisor of assessments being in charge, but not doing the day-to-day zoning stuff.
So you'll be bringing this up to the finance committee and have.
Obviously a money issue because
Oh, that's right.
down the road, so they have to be informed too, but I need to come to you first because I report to you guys.
Okay, well. John, would that get that in front of the board just so they
I'll
can
just bring it
start?
up in my regular report in finance because that wasn't on the agenda, so that's why I went to new business.
Yeah.
We'll give it some thought.
Beg pardon?
We'll give it some thought.
Okay.
That's all I'm
Okay.
asking.
Nothing gonna be acted on this month.
Beg pardon?
There's nothing that's gonna be acted on this month.
Okay. Okay.
So does it go on the agenda for this meeting for next month?
We'll give it some thought.
In other words, you'll let Amanda know.
He'll have some thought on that.
Yeah.
I got a question, because you know,
Okay.
Knox County has hired someone to assist in, since they haven't separated. Have they?
Yeah, they hired somebody.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
You know?
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned.